Natira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnu Paramahansa Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Laisa Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Tributary Founder Chaja Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, titled The Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Text number 16. Mam ke dayati etarajasya janma Mam ke dayati etarajasya janma Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe Vraje chavaso aribhayat ivasayam Vraje chavaso aribhayat ivasayam Purad vyavatsit yadananta viryaha Purad vyavatsit yadananta viryaha Mam ke dayate tadajasya janma Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe Vraje chavaso aribhayat evasvayam Purad vyavatsit yadananta viryaha Mam ke dayate tadajasya janma Vidambanam yad vasudeva gehe Vraje chavaso aribhayat evasvayam Purad vyavatsit yadananta viryaha Word for word translation. Mam, to me, kedayati, gives me distress. Etat, this, ajasya, of the unborn. Janma, birth. Vidambanam, bewildering. Yat, that. Vasudeva gehe, in the home of Vasudeva. Vraje, in Vrindavan. Cha, also. Vasaha, inhabitation. Ari, enemy. Bhayat, because of fear. Iva, as if. Swayam, himself. Purat, from Mathurapuri. Vyavatsit, fled. Yat, one who is. Ananta Viryaha, unlimitedly powerful. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. When I think of Lord Krishna, how he was born in the prison house of Vasudeva, although he is unborn, how he went away from his father's protection to Vraja and lived there incognito out of fear of the enemy, and how, although unlimitedly powerful, he fled from Mathura in fear. All these bewildering incidents give me distress. Purport. Because Lord Shri Krishna is the original person from whom everything and everyone has emanated, aham sarvasya prabhava, janmadi asya yataha, nothing can be equal to or greater than him. The Lord is supremely perfect, and whenever he enacts his transcendental pastimes as a son, a rival, or an object of enmity, he plays the part so perfectly that even pure devotees like Uddhava are bewildered. For example, Uddhava knew perfectly well that Lord Shri Krishna is eternally existent and can neither die nor disappear for good. Yet he lamented for Lord Krishna. All these events are perfect arrangements to give perfection to his supreme glories. It is for enjoyment's sake. When a father plays with his little son and the father lies down on the floor, as if defeated by the son, it is just to give the little son pleasure and nothing more. Because the Lord is all-powerful, it is possible for him to adjust opposites such as birth and no birth, power and defeat, fear and fearlessness. A pure devotee knows very well how it is possible for the Lord to adjust opposite things. But he laments for the non-devotees who, not knowing the supreme glories of the Lord, think of him as imaginary, simply because there are so many apparently contradictory statements in the scriptures. Factually, there is nothing contradictory. Everything is possible when we understand the Lord as the Lord and not as one of us, with all of our imperfection. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurulmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we're continuing on with a discussion from the second chapter of Canto 3 titled The Remembrance of Lord Krishna. So these verses which we're reading now is spoken by Uddhava when Uddhava puts forward questions about Krishna's pastimes at the end of the last chapter. And then at the start of this chapter is mentioned how Uddhava, just by hearing these questions from Vidura, he goes into ecstasy, he goes into trance in remembrance of Krishna. And that's why this chapter is titled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. It's Uddhava remembering all the wonderful pastimes, qualities of his very dear cousin friend Krishna. And in today's verse, he is remembering Krishna's very bewildering pastimes. And he mentions 3 different pastimes. when I think of Lord Krishna, how he was born in the prison house of Vasudeva, although he is unborn, how he went away from his father's protection to Vraja and lived there incognito out of fear of the enemy, and how, although unlimitedly powerful, he fled from Mathura in fear. All these bewildering incidents give me distress. So in his purport, Prabhupada explains how Krishna's pastimes can be very bewildering, because he'll seem to do very contradictory things together. For example, Prabhupada writes here, because the Lord is all-powerful, it is possible for him to adjust opposites, such as birth and no birth, power and defeat, fear and fearlessness. For example, we know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has all 6 of the opulences in full. So there is nothing, even fear personified, Yamaraj is afraid of Krishna. All the planets, it's given by Lord Brahma and Brahma Samhita, that all the planets, they're doing their orbits according to Krishna's direction in fear of Krishna. And they don't even move a foot away from the actual orbit they're supposed to go, because they know if we do, we'll be going against Krishna and we'll get punished. So this is the power of Krishna. And so who is there that Krishna would be afraid of? So although Krishna is all-powerful, almighty, still in Krishna Leela we'll see he'll be afraid of Mother Yasoda. He'll be afraid of Nanda Maharaj. He'll be afraid of getting a beating from his parents. He'll be afraid of the gopis when they catch him stealing butter. So these are two contradictory things. On one hand, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the demigods, all the planets, they're orbiting under Krishna's instruction. Fear personified is afraid of Krishna. Yamaraj is afraid of Krishna. But at the same time, that same Supreme Personality of Godhead is afraid of his parents. He's afraid of the elderly gopas and the elderly gopis. So these two things are complete opposites. It doesn't make sense. But Prabhupada says, because Krishna is supremely powerful, he can adjust all contradictions. And many times in his purport, Prabhupada explains this point, that all these contradictions that we see in Krishna's pastimes can be clarified if we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, if we understand Krishna's Achintya Shakti. Shakti means power, Achintya means inconceivable. So inconceivable power. Prabhupada says, whenever you see any contradiction in Krishna's pastimes, you just simply remember that Krishna has Achintya Shakti, inconceivable Shakti or inconceivable power. So Krishna using his inconceivable potencies, power, he is able to adjust all sorts of contradictions. For example, another one Prabhupada gives is birth and no birth. He's at the start of the Prabhupada is explaining, it's only from Krishna that everything emanates. Aham sarvasya prabhava, as explained in Gita, or in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi asya yata, for him only all the jivas come, from him only all the shaktis come, from him only the material world, the spiritual worlds, everything emanates from him. So how can that person from whom everything emanates, how can that person take birth? But again, if we take into consideration Krishna's Achintya Shakti, Krishna's inconceivable potency, it is possible. He is the Supreme Lord, He is the Supreme Master. There is nothing impossible for Him. He can do whatever He likes. If He wants to take birth, He can take birth. If He wants to experience the mood of being afraid, He can experience that mood. So whatever He likes, He can do. So that's what the main theme of today's purport. So we can go through some of these pastimes that Uddhava is mentioning in today's text about how they bewildered Krishna's devotees during that time. For example, the first thing Uddhava mentions is how he was born in the prison house of Vasudeva, although he is unborn. In that pastime it's given, if we all remember from Krishna book, how Krishna, he wasn't conceived as ordinary is conceived in material world. He first entered into the mind of Vasudeva, then into his heart, and then he was transferred into the heart of Devaki, and then Rajana Krishna Prabhu was explaining yesterday, from the heart of Devaki, then Krishna goes into the womb. And then he just manifests himself. And in the Bhagavatam, the Acharyas explained that when Krishna finally appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, both Devaki and Vasudeva, they were completely bewildered by Krishna's appearance. And the Acharyas explained there were 4 main wonders which are given that really bewildered Vasudeva when he saw Krishna appear as his son. Number one, the Acharyas explain that Vasudeva was firstly bewildered that this is a prison house. Why is the Supreme Personality of Godhead out of all, if someone is very great, you want something very nice for them. If someone is a great king, the reception will be nice. They will do everything in a very nice, clean, royal opulence. But he is the Supreme Lord and Master. He is the master of all the worlds. He is the master of spiritual world. From him everything comes. But such a great personality as my Lord, he is taking birth where? In the prison house, out of all the places. How come he's appearing in this prison house? Isn't he afraid of Kamsa? Just previously, this demon Kamsa killed so many of my children. And now in that same prison house, Krishna is appearing. Isn't he afraid? There is iron bars surrounding all the sides of the prison house. He can't escape. As soon as he's appearing, Kamsa is going to send his soldiers. Kamsa, he himself is going to come. Where will Krishna escape? There's no escape for him. So isn't he afraid of appearing in a prison cell out of all the places? So that's the first thing that really bewildered Vasudeva. How is it that the Supreme Lord is appearing in a prison cell? Isn't he afraid of Kamsa? And that's the first thing that bewildered him. Wonder number two, it's explained that when Krishna appeared, he was fully decorated with all beautiful golden ornaments. Plus, he had very beautiful, shiny, glossy black hair. And he was smiling. If you look at movies, I don't think any of us have seen actual birth of a child, but on TV and stuff, we've seen how it is when a child is born. It's actually a very painful experience. That's why the Bhagavatam gives that includes birth among the four miseries of material existence: birth, death, old age, and disease. Generally, birth is celebrated, but actually birth is a very painful experience. When we read later on the third canto, Lord Kapila Deva will explain how birth is such a painful experience. That's why whenever a child is born, you'll never see the child smiling as soon as it pops out of the womb. It's always crying in great distress. His face will be very red, will be covered with all sorts of disgusting liquid, and it's a very painful and hard thing the child has to go through. No child comes out of the womb smiling, happy. No child comes out of the womb with very nice, shiny, black, glossy hair. And definitely no child comes out of the womb with golden ornaments decorated. But that's how Krishna appeared. So seeing that, Vasudeva was again bewildered. How is it that a newborn child has long curly hair? How is it that he's smiling so nicely? How is he so beautiful? And how did he get all these ornaments all over his body? Where did these ornaments come from? He just came out of my wife's womb, and he's come out with all these beautiful golden ornaments. How did this happen? So that's the second thing that just really bewildered Vasudeva's mind. Then number three, the Acharyas explain that Vasudeva was thinking that this Krishna, Vishnu, he is the Supreme Person in Godhead. He is pervading everything. He is in every single atom. How is it that that Supreme Lord, who is pervading all of existence, is appearing from my wife's womb as my son? How can that personality who's pervading all of existence, how can that person come out in a localized form from my wife's womb? So that's the third thing that bewildered Vasudeva. And the fourth thing that bewildered Vasudeva was that this Krishna, Krishna or Vishnu, he is the Supreme Person in Godhead. He is my worshipful deity. I offer every day, I do puja to him. Every day I offer prayers to him. I offer my respects and I perform devotional service to him. How is it that Supreme Lord, who I'm worshipping every day, how is it that he's appearing as my son? Again, that's the fourth thing that bewilders Vasudeva. That same Lord that not just this current lifetime, but for so long he has been worshipping daily, engaging in devotional service, engaging in bhakti. That same person I'm offering obeisance to every day, the same person I'm offering prayers, the same person I'm offering devotional service, that same person is now taking the role of my son. How is it that, how can he be my son? He's my Lord and Master. He is my worshipable deity. He's my Ishtadev. How can my Ishtadev just become my son? So that's the fourth thing that completely bewildered Vasudeva. So this is one example Uddhava gives of how Krishna's pastimes are so bewildering and how there's so many inconceivable contradictions which come across in Krishna's pastimes. But all these contradictions, they can be clarified if we understand that, as Prabhupada is saying, that Krishna is the Lord. Because he is the Lord, he can do whatever he likes. Apparently, inconceivable contradictions can be clarified through Krishna's inconceivable potency. Then next, another example Uddhava gives is of Krishna leaving the battlefield in Mathura in fear. So again, we know this is when Jarasandha was attacking at the same time as Kalyavana. At that time, Krishna, he chooses to run away from the battlefield. He chooses not to fight with Jarasandha, and him and Balaram just flee. And that's how Krishna got the famous name as Ranchor. And there's even temples in India where they have a deity of Krishna who's named as Ranchor. So devotees, they celebrate this pastime of Krishna running away from battlefield. Ordinarily, Prabhupada explains, if someone runs away from the battlefield, people will call him a coward, people call him ill names. Especially in Vedic culture, with the strong Kshatriya spirit. If someone flees from battlefield, then they consider as a disgrace. They'd rather commit suicide than, they'd rather get killed than run away from the battlefield. But Krishna, he did that, and devotees, instead of, because Krishna is Supreme Lord, whatever he does is all perfect. So Krishna, instead of getting a bad name, instead his glories are increasing even more. How is it? Because this is a sign of renunciation. Krishna is all-powerful, almighty. He's already defeated Jarasandha so many times. If he wanted, he could have fought and easily smashed Jarasandha and Kalyavana. Obviously, he defeated Kalyavana, but Jarasandha, he didn't fight at this time. He chose to run away. Because at the same time, it's given that he had received a love letter from Rukmini. Rukmini saying, please, Krishna, come and rescue me. So Krishna thought, as they explained, that, my marriage ceremony is more important than fighting this Jarasandha guy. We'll take care of him later. This is more important. I'm going to go kidnap Rukmini and marry her. So Krishna at this time chooses, this is more higher priority, so I'm just going to leave the battlefield. Although he could have killed Jarasandha just like that. He could have just moved his eyebrows, that's it, Jarasandha, everyone could be killed. But he chose to leave the battlefield, and this is a sign of renunciation. Krishna knew that if he leaves, Jarasandha is going to, being puffed up, he's going to call Krishna all ill names. Krishna knows that all of Jarasandha's friends, all the demoniac kings at that time on planet Earth, they're going to call him ill names, they're going to speak ill of him. But Krishna is showing his renounced nature. That, okay, you call me whatever you like, who cares? I don't care. And this is the same mood Prabhupada explains devotees we should have. We should simply focus on the instruction of the spiritual master and not so much worry about what the public or others might think. For example, spiritual master says, go out and do Harinam. Okay, we follow the spiritual master instruction, we do Harinam. We don't worry about, what will people think if I go out on the street wearing, this devotional clothes and tilak, people think I'm some religious fanatic or this and that. That's none of our concern. We just focus on our spiritual master instruction, we follow that strictly. And we be renounced. Don't take so seriously what others say about us. For example, Prabhupada will give the example of just like you're going down the street, and especially anyone who's done door-to-door book distribution, they'll have this experience. Not just every day, but every 5 minutes they'll have this experience. You're just walking down the street, a dog will see, and the dog will start barking at you. And Prabhupada says, if a dog barks at you, you don't take it too seriously. It's just a dumb animal who's just barking at you. What's the big deal? It's not like when a dog barks at you, you go into inferiority complex and, oh no, this dog barked at me, I'm doing something wrong, or what did I do wrong? You just ignore the dog, you just continue on with your business. So in the same way, Prabhupada explains that we focus on serving Krishna, we focus on serving the spiritual master, we focus on serving the Vaishnavas. What the outsiders might think, we don't have to take it too seriously. Of course, saying that, it is also a responsibility as Vaishnavas, as representatives of Srila Prabhupada, Radha Gopinath, that we have to behave as gentlemen. So the other side is also there. On one side, we're focusing on serving the spiritual master, we're focusing on serving the Vaishnavas, and we're not considered so much about how the outer world perceive us. But at the same time, Prabhupada explains, we should not come across as arrogant or rude. We should come across as very nice, humble, perfect gentlemen. So there has to be balance. Both sides have to maintain. We shouldn't be concerned too much about criticisms from outside, but at the same time we should conduct ourselves in which people will see us as very nice, wonderful persons of society. We shouldn't bring bad name to the movement, bad name to Prabhupada. So in this instance, when Krishna is running away from the battlefield, he's showing this quality, opulence of renunciation. He knows that people are going to talk ill of him if he runs away. But still he chooses to run away because he's detached. He doesn't mind. So that's another pastime that Uddhava was mentioning in today's verse. Other instances we can see from Krishna book where contradictory things we're seeing together. We can see in Krishna's dealings with the Vrajvasis and Krishna's dealings with the demons. For example, it's given that when the Keshi demon came, if you remember how Krishna killed the Keshi demon, the demon was coming, charging towards Krishna. It's a huge horse demon. And Krishna, he just, puts up a fist and just goes straight into Keshi's mouth. And Krishna's fist goes into Keshi's mouth. And it's given in Krishna book, in Bhagavatam, that Keshi, he felt Krishna's fist as a red-hot iron rod, blazing iron rod. So Krishna's fist was like super hot, like fiery. And when Krishna's fist goes into Keshi's throat, his throat just burns up, and then that's it. Keshi is dead and finished. So that same hand, which is acting as a red-hot iron rod, very like a blazing fire, that same hand during Rasa Leela, when the gopis and Krishna, they're dancing with such great intensity and love, and when Krishna notices that perspiration is coming on the gopis' forehead, then Krishna, out of great love and affection, it's given in Bhagavatam, that Krishna, he wipes away the perspiration from the gopis' forehead. And it's given, a detail is given that when Krishna was wiping away the perspiration from gopis' forehead, Krishna's hand was just like a very cooling moonshine. They had a very nice cooling effect on the gopis' forehead, which cooled down or relieved all the fatigue that the gopis were going through during the rasa dance. So that same hand, which on one instance is acting as red-hot, fiery, causing the death of a demon, the same hand, when it comes to in dealing with his devotees, is having a very nice cooling effect. He's relieving the fatigue of his devotees. Again, in Nectar of Devotion, it's explained that Krishna's body is so soft that if you just take a newly grown leaf, which is probably just as soft as this bookmark of this Bhagavatam, and if you take that newly grown leaf and you just touch Krishna's skin, the color of his skin will change, as if someone is really pushing down. At this moment, my finger is reddish, but if you put a lot of pressure, it will become white. But Krishna's body is so soft, if you just take a newly grown leaf and you just touch Krishna's skin like that, his color of his skin will change. That's how soft Krishna's body is, Nectar of Devotion explained. But that same transcendental body of Krishna, which is so soft that, if you touch it, it will immediately change in color. That same body Krishna is using to kill these demons. That same body Krishna is using to punch, choke, and smash these big, big demons, who are not just some ordinary small-time demons, but they're huge. Putana was 8 miles tall. Even Aghasura, he was 8 miles long. So all these demons are huge. But Krishna, even though his body in one instance is given, that his body is so soft, it's just like butter, that same body Krishna is using to smash these demons. Again, it seems contradictory. Again, in Trinavarta's case, again we see that how did Krishna kill Trinavarta? He choked Trinavarta to death. But it's given